Hello everybody, this is Jumping Beans 1993, and welcome to my 12th movie commentary. The movie I'm commentating on is The Pagemaster, released in 1994 by 20th Century Fox. Due to copyright reasons, this is an audio-only commentary. You can probably find the movie by just searching for it on YouTube, finding a torrent on Google, or even just buying the movie and watching it on your computer. I'm doing this commentary because not only have I seen this movie in my childhood before, but I did a Let's Play of the Super Nintendo version of the game based on the movie on my main channel. I first saw this movie at Grandma Jones' house. I borrowed this movie and I ended up keeping it for a long time before eventually taking it back. The Nostalgia Critic did a review of this, and I will not be using any of his lines from the review. I want it to be somewhat original, so I don't want to hear any comments about how I'm supposedly ripping off the Nostalgia Critic by doing this. I already said why I'm doing this. Straight away we can already tell that there are a lot of famous people in this movie. Here we have Macaulay Culkin, who was then Home Alone and Richie Rich, and the composer of this movie is James Horner, who has probably composed at least one movie that you have seen. It's hard for me to believe that he's 33 years old right now and he has a beard, because he was a very well-known child actor. I can only really picture him as the Home Alone kid. Despite the fact that this is an animated film, the beginning and the ending of it is in live action. There's no mixing of the two like in Roger Rabbit. Makes me think of The Wizard of Oz because the beginning and the ending of it is in black and white and the main part is in color. He's just not that great of a kid, sorry to say. Quite the safety freak, but why? It annoys me to no end. He does have potential, but if he just used his brain for other things, there's something just... How does he know all this anyway? And besides, most statistics are wrong. Because, I mean, if he got them from books, then he must have read a lot of books. Is that what he does with his spare time? Except that was entirely your fault. It was an accident, but that doesn't change that fact. You can do it. It's not rocket science. Then again, you might be really good at that. You never really know. Dramatic music for this. Okay, no kid wears that while riding a bicycle. And no kid rides a bicycle like that. He's a wimp, that's all I have to say. He looks ridiculous, and no wonder he's about to get bullied right now. Or is going to. Thank goodness I was never bullied. I think it was because I pretty much left everyone alone. Which, coincidentally enough, is kind of what Kelly did in high school as well. Yeah, I don't get that scene either. You might as well be wearing elbow pads and knee pads. You're wearing a helmet and you're worrying about cranium damage. Just facepalm. Hey, you know, you left your jacket behind. Want to go back and get that? No? No? Okay. You know, I think it's safe to say that this entire movie wouldn't have happened if his parents just drove him to the hardware store. Yes, go into the scary-looking library. I do realize he wants shelter from the storm, but come on now. He can't be that stupid. Or can he? It's like the people in horror films that just go and explore mansions that are obviously haunted. Mr. Dewey, the librarian, is played by Christopher Lloyd, who has played Doc Brown in the Back to the Future series and Judge Doom in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Oh, so you say. Way too close for comfort. You know, I'd actually be creeped out too if I were Richard. Cause look at him. Look at what he's doing. No. Actually, it's not. It's non-fiction. Books about statistics, facts, real-life people. I'm just gonna say it right now. I'm not a fan of books. I used to be, but not anymore. I've just become more interested in other things. Same thing with TV. I love his reaction. He's like, oh, I see. It's like, I can't believe it. Someone going to a library and not wanting to check out anything. The world is gonna end because someone has gone to a library and not wanted to check out anything. Hey, this is Richard Tyler you're talking to, the wimpiest kid of all time. Of course he's gonna be afraid. He has pantophobia. Yes. Thank you, Charlie Brown Christmas, for teaching me what pantophobia means. Hey there, Yen Sid, Merlin, Dumbledore, whatever. Take your pick. Hey look, characters that most kids probably won't know or care about. Because I just thought about that right now. I don't think any of these books were really intended to be read by kids, and yet this film was marketed towards them, so I don't know. And there's a scene that I think the Nostalgia Critic should have talked about. I mean, what do you do? Just trip on a tiny puddle of water? And then we get this strangeness. Commentated on the goop, but not that previous scene, so because every time I watch this scene, I'm just wondering exactly what's going on. I mean, it's not really explained very well, if at all. Get used to that, because that's pretty much what he does throughout this entire movie. Ladies and gentlemen, our hero. Let this sink in. This is how he gets into the animated world. By tripping on a tiny puddle of water, and then having the ceiling melt into colored goop, and having a giant goop dragon hit him and the entire library, and turn it into this. My question, who came up with that idea? Whatever. Yeah, someone actually went into the storyboard meeting and fought this up and told it to everyone else. If I were Richard, I'd be asking him, "Did you do this to me? And if so, why? What was up with the ceiling melting and a giant goop dragon? Could you possibly, oh, I don't know, explain all this to me?" At this point, there will be a lot of book references, and I'll point out all the ones I know, because I really have nothing better to do in this commentary. And it just makes things more interesting overall if I do something other than just react to what's going on. I didn't pick up on this one until very recently, but if you listen closely during this part, you can hear dialogue from A Christmas Carol. Oh, great. The phone doesn't even work anyway. So going into that library to get the phone was all for nothing, because it didn't even work. Adventure is voiced by Patrick Stewart, who is best known for voicing Captain Jean-Luc Picard in Star Trek. Hey, does he look like a book to you? Reminds me of Alice in Wonderland. The Disney version, that is, the 1951 version. You probably know what scene I'm talking about, with the flowers. When I said book references, I did mean the books that are in the backgrounds of scenes as well. When Richard first falls down, you can see a book called The Snow Queen, which Disney will be coming up with a film adaptation of in 2013. It will be a computer animated film called Frozen. I bet there are going to be a lot of jokes about that title, like Suburban Commando references and references to Walt Disney supposedly being frozen after death or something weird like that. Some weird rumor, wasn't it? And it's funny I'm referencing another movie Christopher Lloyd was in. So, why did he do this exactly? I'm confused. On the shelf that Adventure was hanging on is the books Cinderella, The Wizard of Oz, Road to Oz, and Kidnapped, among others. And in a previous scene, he mentions the books Kidnapped and Mysterious Island before getting out 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. You know, apparently there is such a thing as that, which is kind of funny, actually. Fantasy is voiced by Whoopi Goldberg, who has played many different characters, including Shenzai from The Lion King. that was an obvious Wizard of Oz reference. Which again is a huge coincidence because I mentioned that movie earlier in this commentary. Were these book puns really necessary? References to books are okay, but they did not need to make bad book puns like what they just did there. Very cringeworthy indeed. Here you can see Cinderella again, Richard III, as well as the 39 steps. You can check both of you out, you know. The books that can be seen during this entire scene are A Tale of Two Cities, A Death on the Nile, Little Red Riding Hood, The Red-Headed League, The Hounds of Baskerville, Silver Blaze, The Empty House, and The Final Emblem. No, we're in a library. That was a little pointless. For a long time, I thought the Pagemaster was the only game to have the first area be horror-based. But then I played Gex 1, which wasn't too bad of a game. Not the greatest, but certainly not the worst either. And I thought the Pagemaster video game was doing something unique. Well, when did Gex 1 come out, and when did... The Pagemaster video game, I know, came out in 1994, but when did Gex 1 come out? On the last tombstone that you saw, you can just barely make out the name Jacob Marley, a character from A Christmas Carol. Well, that's like bogus. Well, I don't know why I said that, but you get what I'm saying. I mean, it's complete crap. Oh, there we go. Because 70% of all accidents are household related. Well, duh, that's because you're in a house 70% of the time. So, yeah. And that was actually my dad that pointed that out. So you can credit him for that. Horror is voiced by Frank Welker, who, in addition to voicing many different characters like Megatron, has done the vocal effects for many different animals in movies like Boo and Max, which, if you ask me, is pretty amazing. Yeah. That's not all he can do. Like I said before, he can imitate many kinds of animals, so... Ew. We're not that stupid. We just know the plot. And we kind of have to go in here. Of course. That was a reference to The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. I learned about him once in middle school, and he's as morbid as his own books are. Insert Star Trek reference here. Because if you can't tell, this is Leonard Nimoy, the voice of Spock. This is the first literary character that we see, and one of the problems I have with this movie is that they don't do much with these characters. They just sort of show up and leave. No real character development at all. I also think that they spend a little too much time with the pirates in the adventure section. Which, because of that in the trailer, it sort of leads me to believe that there were a lot of scenes cut for this movie. It's green. And it looks like there's an eyeball in it. I know it's an olive, but for some reason it looks like an eyeball to me. What if Horror wasn't there to stop adventure and he became Mr. Hyde? What would he look like exactly? He might look like Hyde Tweety or Hyde Bugs. Spock has become evil Spock. That's the only Star Trek reference I've got. An actual Star Trek fan would probably have one or two more. Go. Leave. Now. What are you doing just standing there? And what's he doing just standing there? That was too easy. Can't he jump out? What? No, the chains are trapping him. What's going on down there? In this scene you can see The Haunting, The Shining, The Exorcist, Ghost Stories, Frankenstein, and The Telltale Heart. Can't they just go through the door? Another Hunchback reference. Yet he shall smite the wicked and plunge them into the fiery pit. I accomplished something for once. No, I don't want to. Thank you very much. You just said that a few minutes ago. Lazy script makers. Pay close attention to the rocks here. There can only be one king of the rock. That. Yes, it's safe. Horror. Ugh. It's like before. We have no choice. And did you learn anything from before? If you can handle getting past a haunted house, I'm sure you can handle sailing across this ocean. Or people just lose legs often out here. That was weird. Really weird. So I guess pirates like obsessed, insane people. As long as they're not trying to kill him, that is. Like Mr. Hyde. I can't believe you missed. What was the point of him? The only reason he's here is so that Moby Dick can do this. There's no explanation of why he wants to kill the whale or anything like that. This film is trying to encourage kids to read, but I think it would confuse them more than anything. It's sure not getting me to read. It's only adventure. Calm down. Yeah. You don't need to hug him that much and wave him around and do all that stuff. And that's kind of pathetic, if you think about it. How convenient! Yeah. You know, those pirates aren't trustworthy. They may be awesome, but they are most definitely not trustworthy. With the exception of course, Venture. Like Kelly, I think pirates are better than ninjas. I never got into ninjas, but I've always been into pirates. I am somewhat biased though, since Donkey Kong Country 2 is one of my favorite games. I'm not sure why people are comparing ninjas to pirates. I never got that. What exactly do they have in common? I can't think of anything. Long John Silver is voiced by Jim Cummings, using a pirate version of his Pete voice, a character that he is probably best known for voicing. And this is one of his few non-Disney roles. Since he used that Pete voice so much, I thought it was his natural voice, but his natural voice is like Cat's voice in Cat Dog. Ironically, this film has a more accurate depiction of the Treasure Island story than Disney's version, which I didn't particularly care for. Disney's version was sci-fi based and set in the future. You and what army? How's he hold all that? He doesn't even have any pockets. And why didn't he try using some of those fins in the pirates? Oh. Now he's gonna have to explain to his dad what happened to the money he gave him. Yeah. Where's my money? Well, I lost the money to some pirates. Oh, really now? Yeah, they didn't know what it was, being pirates, so they threw it out. Don't say that out loud. Oh, I'm surrounded by idiots. Why do they care? The balloons? Too bad. No explanation as to why it's gone. Wait, why did they try to escape before? He dropped the rope when he told him to dig deeper, so... I recognized him before they did. That's your battle cry. I died. Horror's having way too much fun with this. How did they keep getting blown down like that? They got beaten by Bucks of all things. Books! I didn't know Long John Silver was a wimp. Didn't even get to use the sword. Yeah. Another anticlimactic encounter. Would have liked it better if you used the thing like in the Pagemaster game. Yeah, speaking of that, the live action Richard never uses the sword, despite the trailers showing that he does. I hate to nitpick, but they did explain why fantasy and horror survived. Nostalgia critic. What are you doing? No pirate wears a purple bandana. That was harsh. Horror. you can get a new one. It's not that difficult. You have to pay for it, but still. Just go with it. The library card ended up there somehow. I wish that was the case, because that would have been awesome. Yeah, fantasy. Yeah, get sticking up for horror. These characters are from Gulliver's Travels. Horror, did you let yourself get caught? Or were you really just that incompetent? They wouldn't kill him off. It's gone haywire. And it's gonna destroy us all. And the world. Oh, you shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have given her that idea. I did not want to see adventure and drag. Thank you very much. Ugh. That image is gonna haunt me in my nightmares. Oh no, the memories of how long the Fantasia commentary took are coming back. Don't tell me Fox was not inspired by that movie to make that part. Because... Nutcracker Suite, anyone? Oh, so that's how Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. He got glasses put on him by mischievous fairies stealing them from a kid. These fairies are murderers! But, as you know, he got better. You know, I don't think the fairies were actually fleeing because they wanted to drop their glasses. I think they were fleeing because of, well, we'll just watch and see. So, hey, he has a sword already. What happened to it? Deleted scene, perhaps? They managed to screw up a dragon. How do you do that? Dragons are supposed to be cool, but this one is so bland and ugly looking. Looks nothing like the one on the painting. None of the literary characters look like they do on the paintings. It fits most of this movie, though. I'll give it that. Watch Sleeping Beauty. That's how you do a good dragon. Yes, here's our Aladdin reference. Not much of a personality to this rug, unlike the rug in the Disney version. Horror, you idiot! You just lost the very thing that was keeping us alive throughout this entire movie! Mayday, mayday! There's Atlas shrugged. Hey, look behind you, Richard. They're not with you. Hello? No, you're almost there. They're all the way back there, getting pwned by the dragon. There's always that one thing preventing them from getting to the exit, even when it's right there. They do like each other after all. Or not? And the movie does have its moments, I'll admit. No. Adventure. Dragons are not to be taken lightly. That's why they're so cool. You must choose. You don't know where those fiends have been. Isn't that cute? But it's wrong! Watch out for that tail! Yum. Dinner. How did he survive in there? Yeah, you get the drill. I don't even bother questioning it at this point since it's done so much in video games and movies. His appetite's as weird as Monstros. Look at all those books he's eating. That's definitely a case of did not do the research. The book's called Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And here's a Jack and the Beanstalk. Come back here, you appetizer! The dragon is gone. For some reason. It didn't die. I am. Magic. He's a wizard. These are all very good points. So, he practically tried to have me killed. I don't care. You put him through all this. You know how this was all a test? Well, I thought that after he leaves the place, everything will go back to the way it was, and that those characters weren't actually real, and the whole thing will start over again. I might join TV Tropes and put that under a wild, massive guessing page for this movie. It would be the first entry for it, since there isn't currently a wild, massive guessing page for this movie. He somehow manages to be both ugly and cute at the same time. What could be in those books? They're not named anything specific, so I guess they just have a collection of many different stories. Yeah, but now I'm not with you staring at me like that. I forgot to tell you the library rules. They include things such as no running. Well, that's a stupid rule. He should be able to check out as many as he wants. You promised an inanimate object? He knows. He secretly knows that his library is magical. Forgot to mention that the Pagemaster is also voiced by Christopher Lloyd. Hooray for you. What happened to my money? Why do you have those books? Why do you have a library card? Why aren't you a wimp? Son, you've got a lot of explaining to do when you wake up. No, who cares? At least he's home. Now I'm starting to feel sleepy myself. Stay awake. Stay awake. But was it all worth it? Is this a book's destiny? To be checked out by children? Okay, that came out wrong. But you know what I mean. Oh yay much? This reminds me, after seeing Disney Gemini 1991's Peter Pan commentary, I have to do this rant. She brought this up before in Alice in Wonderland, but now I'm so creeped out I have to say this. Fanfic writers can be very weird because they pair up random characters with random characters. Seriously, they'll pair up Wendy with Smee of all things. And pretty much every character of every other character. What are these people on? What's next? Captain Ahab Adventure, Mr. Hyde the Dragon, Adventure Horror, Adventure Fantasy, Richard the Talking Books, Dr. Jekyll and Long John Silver, or possibly the best one of all, Mr. Dewey Richard. That was a joke, fanfic writers. Do not make stories about these. Okay, ran over. And that's the end of the movie. My thoughts, it's okay. It has its moments, but it's not worth seeing the movie for those. Admittedly, I don't really have much to say about this movie in terms of my thoughts on it. So. There's an interesting coincidence with the actors and actresses in this movie. Most of them have appeared in something Star Trek related. Patrick Stewart, the voice of Adventure, played Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Whoopi Goldberg, the voice of Fantasy, played Guinan. Leonard Nimoy, the voice of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, played Mr. Spock. Dr. Spock, whatever. Christopher Lloyd, the voice of the librarian Mr. Dewey, played Krug in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Ed Begley Jr., the voice of Richard's father, Alan, played Henry Starling in 2 episodes of Star Trek Voyager. George Hart, the voice of Captain Ahab, played Dr. Beryl in an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, and B.J. Ward, the voice of the Queen of Hearts, and Jim Cummings, the voice of Long John Silver, played numerous characters in Star Trek computer games. Frank Welker, the voice of horror, voiced Spock Screams in Star Trek 3 and the alien creature in the Star Trek Voyager episode Nothing Human. Did I skip something? And the alien creatures in the Star Trek Voyager episode Nothing Human. Composer James Horner was also the composer for Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. The original plan was to have the movie be about Richard hating books, but by the end loves reading them. It was changed to have it be about Richard overcoming his fears. Which I'm sure the nostalgic critic rather would have had the original idea for it go through. My thoughts on the video game. It's very derivative of Super Mario Bros. 3, and the levels are very repetitive. There aren't any bosses to make things more interesting in the Super Nintendo version, and the Sega Genesis version only has one boss in the first world. The ending is very poor, but I won't spoil it. I have seen a complete playthrough of the Sega Genesis version, but I have not seen any gameplay of the PC version. There is a complete Let's Play of it, so I could watch it if I really wanted to, but I'm not that interested in it. All I know is that from the screenshots, it's an adventure game. The Let's Play lasted about half an hour, and I didn't have time to do much except explain gameplay mechanics. I didn't die at all, which is very surprising, even though the game is very easy. I had trouble with it as a kid, but not anymore. I skipped some of the levels and the library cards simply because I didn't like the game all that much. If you want to do all the levels, go ahead. I would watch it. I did the Let's Play because I have the cartridge and I played it a lot. Also, there are no complete Let's Plays of the game that are in English. There is one person who did a full Let's Play, but it's in German. If you haven't noticed yet, just like Disney Dave, they're playing an award-based song during the credits. This is a reprise of Whatever You Imagine, which is longer than the version that's played in the film. My only guess is that time constraints prevented them from playing the full version of the film, as there's a brief image of what appears to be Cinderella's coach wagon in the trailer, which is not in the movie. This song is very Disney-esque, but in case it wasn't obvious, this isn't a Disney film. That's our review of the Pagemaster gave the colder one. I really hate when people mistake non-Disney films for Disney films. I just think that people just assume all animated films are Disney films, or that any animated movie based on a fairy tale must be one. I don't know what started this, but one thing that can contribute to it is the time when Thumbelina was released to test audiences with the Disney logo, and it was given positive feedback. Don't ask me how Warner Bros. Got away with this, but they did. So that's about the end of the credits. I'm Jumping Beans 1993, and I will see you for the next commentary. The end.